Potato down! Please more, lots more! Potato down! Please more, lots more! Potato down! Please more, lots more!
Folks, welcome back to the show where it's not about last week's blog. It's not about next week's trailer. It's about this week's movie. And what's Trainwreck watching? Of course, it's in theaters. It soared into theaters this past weekend. Superman is on our screens yet again for the first time in a minute here. But joining me on today's episode of What's Trainwreck watching, of course, it's your friend, our friend, Jake Micah. We've got the head of the table, Mike Partham, and of course, from Dry Gin Martini, Paige Boulera. Crew, thank you for joining us. Excited to get into this one. With that said, I don't think there's any time to wait. Let's get into it. Superman back in the theaters. This is officially, I think it's safe to say, the reboot start of the DCEU. So why don't we go around the horn? Micah, Partham, and then we'll go to Paige. What was your feeling walking out of the theater from Superman? And I will say from this point, basically, you can count on spoilers being ahead.
Yeah, I think we won't be able to help ourselves eventually. But walking out of the theater, my first feeling was they really nailed Superman, man. Like, I just wanted them to hit this character right and hit a lot of the characters right. My comic book, as everybody probably watching, if you don't know, I am a huge comic book fan and in turn a comic book movie fan. One of the first comics I remember reading is Superman Batman. Like, that is one of my core comics, like the ones that raised me. That Amazing Spider-Man, some Wolverine. So getting this character right has been important to me. It never felt, I liked Man of Steel, but it didn't feel like it felt in this movie. Walking out of this, I was like, damn, that was just a home run. Like, there's some things that I'm sure we'll nitpick and everything else, but what I wanted to feel like coming out of a movie, what I wanted a Superman movie to feel like in 2025, I think they pretty much nailed that.
Well, in the last few years, there's been a sort of movement toward more grounded superheroes, more either relatable or they're very dark and brooding. And obviously Batman fits that to a T, and Spider-Man to a degree. And they tried to do that to a degree with Man of Steel, and it didn't quite hit. I mean, I enjoyed the movie for what it was, but if you're a Superman fan and he's your ideal of hope and he's the complete mirror to Batman, and he's out there basically trying to be Batman and being a little bit less merciless, it might not come across the same way as what you're expecting. This movie, it's very bright, it's very colorful, it's very hopeful. Superman comes across as a very just humble, aw shucks kind of guy. He's very passionate about saving lives. He's very passionate about what he believes in. And I believed in who he was and what he wanted to be. I believed in his relationship with Lois. I believed that Lex Luthor was just off his rocker, just trying to do whatever it could to take Superman down. Maybe not just physically, but also in the public eye. And,
100%.
Oh, yeah. And so coming out of this movie, yeah, it was a different feel. It was a different vibe. It wasn't quite Christopher Reeve, but it had that same impression of Superman when you left the theater, I think.
I like that. I like the aw shucks Superman vibe. We'll get into that in a bit. But Paige, what'd you think?
I agree. I didn't really walk out of this theater. I kind of skipped. I was really giddy. I really liked the movie. I'd never seen Superman, anything of it before at all. So I just kind of knew that he was like a symbol of hope. And I think that movie did a brilliant job of depicting that while also staying true to being a superhero movie, a comic movie. I like when they have character arcs and a really good story. I don't care so much about the action and all of that kind of stuff when it comes to action and comic book movies. And I just absolutely fell in love with Superman, as I think many people did. David Cornsweet is a gorgeous looking man, but he also delivered a gorgeous performance in the film. And I just really liked it. And it made me want to watch other DCEU films because I really haven't seen anything other than Suicide Squad, which is that in the DCEU.
Oh, that's tough. Tough introduction for sure. And yeah, well, let's face it, it's never easy when you're talking anything DCEU, and there's a reason for that. I was going to get into it with my reaction, and that is like, sometimes comparison is the thief of joy in situations, but I think comparatively to the rest of the DCEU that we've seen so far, obviously this is a full reboot. This is basically top one, inning one from James Gunn and co. But I thought they did a great job of producing a superhero man movie. I think the theme of the month is kind of becoming that these movies, whether they were good or not in your eye, they definitely targeted the audience, you know, that was passionate about them. F4 or sorry, F1, F4. What the hell am I talking about? F1, Jurassic, or this movie. If you went in for a F1 movie, if you went in for a dinosaur movie, or if you went in for a Superman movie, it's hard for me to believe you would be upset. There was maybe one twist in this movie that may have, you know, drawn the ire of the masses, and we'll get to that as we go in our spoilers. But let's get into the flick itself, obviously. What did you think? So clearly this was an ode to the original Superman with the text on the screen, kind of breaking it down. What'd you think of that theme of threes and kind of the intro kind of throwing us into, by the way, spoilers ahead, throwing us basically into the middle of the movie? Because Paige, I think you would agree, this movie kind of picks up late in the first act or early in the second of a traditional movie, right?
I actually really enjoyed the intro because I feel like coming in as somebody who's never seen Superman, it was a really good amount of exposition plopped on the screen. And then it kicks off right with action, and we get to see Superman, and we get to see him with his dog and who he is as a person while building that action arc that gets us right into the conflict happening with Lex Luthor and everything. I think if they had had like a really heavy exposition start, it kind of would have been like we're dragging our feet through the snow. So I think him literally face planting into the snow was a brilliant way to kick off that action and give you a sense of who he is, and maybe have a bit more empathy from the jump, seeing him hurt rather than seeing him right off the bat coming in stoic. I really liked the beginning, and it gave me intel on Superman and everything other than the few little sprinkles of details that I was previously aware of.
It was very interesting how we jumped right into it. And Parthy and Mike, I'll cue you guys up after this for however you were feeling about it. But the more I think about it, I look back to the most recent iteration of Spider-Man. We skipped the origin story. I think back to now the most recent iteration of Batman. We kind of skipped the origin story. I think this is kind of the theme on these new reboots is let's cut right to the action. I think Gunn was following suit in that, Parthy.
Yeah, and I like that they cut right to essentially what was the first thing you saw in these trailers that we saw. You would have thought that Superman getting his ass kicked would have been like at the end of the second act. No, it's the very first time you see Superman. And it's kind of jarring, but now you have a little bit of mystery. Okay, what's going to happen later on that he's going to have to deal with? He's already gotten his ass kicked in the first scene, and he, you know, recovers in the Fortress of Solitude and, you know, gets back to the fight. Yeah, it sort of... It subverts your expectations based on the trailers you've seen. Like, they didn't give away too much. They gave away just enough and didn't give anything away about how the movie progresses along. They gave you it's not even the biggest moment of adversity for him. You would have thought that just seeing that.
Yeah, it was great in that way. And also, I'm pretty sure, like you said, I'm pretty sure this came out as a scene on YouTube pretty early on, and people were like, oh, when is this going to be? And the fact that it's the first, you know, whatever, couple minutes of the movie, it's like, okay, they really weren't giving it away. But like you said, it was a perfect depiction. And it's just like, listen, if they're rebooting as a comic book, if Superman was just getting rebooted issue 1, they might just throw you in where he's just down on the ground, down on a luck. And that could be like the box panel down the way down, just giving you where he's at in that moment. So it's expecting you to know who this character is a little bit, but even Paige, like you said, you're not completely familiar, but you know of Superman, like no Superman superhero. Like if that's all you have going in, that's really all you need going into this movie, because they kind of give you like, they give an origin in this movie. Like they piecemeal an origin through it too. It's just a different way of delivering it to you. I thought it was really well done in that way. But I think the beginning of this, yeah, it was so much fun to just jump right into it. And hey, listen, anytime Crypto's on the screen is a good time for me.
Yeah,
so what's our ultimate judgment of Crypto? Good dog or bad dog?
Bad dog.
Oh,
but good intentions.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
It took him basically until the third act to actually do something constructive, you know?
Yeah, and let's face it, between the small dino and Jurassic and Crypto, the new theme for all these franchises, you better have something small that can be made into a stuffed animal, you know, right, for the kids, obviously. But we get into it. What did you think of the fight choreography and kind of Lex's super team that he had? Obviously, we were talking about the performance of Lex Luthor by Nicholas Hoult. I will get into that in a minute, but I think this is the best Lex Luthor we've ever seen, the most balanced as far as a character on any screen, except for the animated series, which we could get into in a bit there. But picking it up halfway, I thought he did a great job. I'll say this about Lex Luthor is that this is just a bad dude. They didn't try and make him like, oh, well, he's doing it because if he does this, like, there's everyone's better. No, this guy just fucking hates Superman. Like, and he's sick of his shit. And the sooner everyone realizes this, the more he can move on to some other bad shit. But yeah, I thought this great performance. Obviously, Brosnahan and David Cornsweet, great performances. But getting into the performances, and Paige, I'm sorry if I'm blowing you up, but I know we got to promote Dry Gin Martini on this pod. You were telling me that this cast and this performance and this movies, you were labeling it as a panty dropper after you saw this movie. Yeah. Are my sources correct in that?
Correct.
Okay, I just had to make sure. So what goes into that? What makes a movie a panty dropper versus just an average one?
Well, I'll tell you. So when it comes to movies like this, like an action movie or a comic movie where I don't have any knowledge going in other than I know a few things about Superman because I watched a few episodes of Smallville, it's like really going to come to performances and like believability of, do I like this person as Superman enough to stick along for the sequels that are to come, or is it something where I'm like not really interested? When it came to the three of them, David Cornsweet, who I've been a fan of since The Politician, Pearl, he was in Hollywood. I'm a huge fan of him as an actor, and I'm not going to lie here. I think he's hot. Okay. Nicholas Hoult, very similar. I watched him in Skins. He came out in Nosferatu last December. And Richard Rohanson, I just think the three of them are so incredibly talented and gave such incredible performances that I literally left the theater like skipping. Like, one, they're all beautiful. Duh. I think she was like the best interpretation of Lois Lane from what I've seen. She was just so incredible in that role that I'm going back this week to see it again. And movie tickets are expensive, so that's a panty dropper to me when I want to go back. And I can admit when my motivation for a movie is an attractive man, and it was David Cornsweet, but I got so many amazing things in the process that I want to get more into DC and see more of what they have in James Gunn's DCEU movies.
There's no shortage of it for sure. And obviously, yeah, there's no shortage of it. You can tell what I will say, boys, and as we get into the plot, we talked about it being a Superman movie. And if you went to go see a Superman movie, happy with that. If you were worried that this was going to be a James Gunn movie, then that worry was well placed, because basically every aspect of James Gunn was in this, whether it was his supporting characters, whether it was kind of making a big deal of tertiary storylines or characters that probably like shouldn't have gotten as much focus, but they did, and very colorful. Obviously, I think that played a lot into the first act. I mean, when you're seeing the fight against the kaiju as it blows up, or even the Justice Gang. So I guess that would be our next topic. Well, how do we feel about the Justice Gang, Nathan Fillon in this one? Anyone want to start on this one? Parthy, you look like you're chomping at the bit.
I like that Lois got in the dig about Green Lantern's haircut. I like that we saw Mr. Terrific and all his gadgets and what he can do. The last time we saw him in any kind of like on-screen interpretation of Superman was like Justice League, the continuation of Superman, the animated series, essentially. And Hawkgirl had some fire to her. They didn't get into anybody's origins. Obviously, we know where the Green Lanterns come from. But obviously, this is a Superman movie. His origin, we just, expositioned at the beginning of the movie. That's all we cared about. Some conflict within the team and conflict between the team and Superman. Obviously, these aren't, a bunch of super friends just sitting around saying, let's go save the day again. Everybody's got their own interpretation of what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. So I like that. I like that it's not just everybody agrees all the time.
Definitely some good teamwork. Mike, what did you think of this team? Seemed like a little bit of the Guardians of the DC, a little bit.
The Justice Gang, they have some potential. I like it there. The leader, Maxwell Lord, very rich man there in the DC universe. So they're setting up a lot of rich people there. And there's another one I'm sure that we're going to see in the future. But Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern there, if you've seen that Green Lantern interpretation at all, it was like a pitch perfect interpretation of the way Guy is supposed to be. Just pretty much a detestable guy who really means well. Like, that's kind of the best thing. Like, he's just kind of like, and it was amazing. It was an amazing performance in that regard. Mr. Terrific, though, that was, I mean, he is a guy who has been, I think,
Stole the show.
underutilized before, and it was exactly. It was one of the best, if not the best, side part of this movie besides like the main Superman stuff was just seeing him in action and seeing like the role they're clearly setting up for him in this universe. He also had appearance in the Flash series on CW. I think he had or Arrow, one of the two. He was running around in there too. So they've been bringing him back up in the pop culture, but this was a breakout moment for the character, and the performance was incredible there too. From terrific.
I think there's going to be a Green Lantern movie, right? Could we
There's
see
a Lanterns show coming, Parthy.
Oh, okay. Could we see on the strength of this performance a Mr. Terrific spin-off movie?
I believe that they talked also about a potential Terrific spin-off show or a Jimmy Olsen spin-off
I want
show.
that. I want a show about Jimmy Olsen.
What did we think of Jimmy and Eve Tessmacher's little subplot line? I mean, I get that she was a lot. She was very. She was a lot, to say the least.
To me, that was classic cinema. That was the classic like underling against.
I mean, the world is on the line here, and Jimmy can't. Wait,
he's got the sauce, bro.
The world is on the city and the fate of the world is on the line, and Jimmy can't get it. Get it up for like a whole weekend just to torture himself with some overbearing chick that's into him just for the sake of the world. I found that like, come on, Jimmy, take one for the team.
It had to have been a rough time.
She's not that bad to look at anyway. Jeez.
Agreed. I guess the personality is a little sketchy. So yeah, we kind of speed run through like there's all the classic like Superman 1 movie tropes, right? Like him interacting with society, him being judged in different ways, hashtag super shit. With that said, like then one of them to me, and this happened in the Snyder movie too, is there's inevitably a point where he turns himself in and puts himself in cuffs. What do you got, Micah?
The one classic thing that we haven't touched on yet, Paige did a little bit though. The best scenes in this movie to me were Clark/Superman and Lois in their apartment. The first scene, the interview between Lois and Superman was the best scene of this movie. It was that was David Corn. That's where I was like, okay, this dude can act, because the switching that he could do to get personally offended and try to be stoic and not be ready, and the way Lois switched from being like kind of insecure and kind of loving to like, oh shit, like I'm gonna be world award winning journalist now, and just so pointed. It was, and she was she was right about first of all, off the record, yes, she was right, but she was also being an asshole. So like he was getting it was lovely. Like that
and then how about when they have the second interaction in the studio post the fight or whatever, and he's in the Superman outfit, and it feels like there's like a completely different vibe between them, because she's like talking to Superman with like all of Superman's responsibilities versus like Clark Kent in the apartment.
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
Was the best part. I think she was the best part of the movie for me, aside from Mr. Terrific, who, if you guys didn't know, he also played Laurent in Twilight. So brush up on your Twilight facts. But she was incredible. And everything I've ever seen of Lois Lane is her fawning over Superman. Like during interviews, she just is so in love with him. So to have a Lois Lane that was powerful, she was so intelligent, an incredible journalist. As the world is quite literally, spoiler, splitting in half, she's there at the desk planning her articles and everything. I love the dynamic between the two of them. And I think oftentimes in comic book movies, you miss that, like a really dramatic, intentional scene that gives you their entire character dynamics, just the two of them alone in that apartment. That was like theater. I was electrified in my seat. That made me giddy. It was amazing. And that they were the best part. Like their dynamic was incredible. And I loved the line later, like, how long have they been seeing each other? Because you can just tell, even though they're like switching it on and off with each other, they were amazing together. Their chemistry is undeniable.
The thing about Lois is she really hasn't been the fawning over Superman type since the early 90s when they had Lois and Clark. Because usually she's a little bit more skeptical about Superman when he appears, or she's a lot more grounded when they're in a relationship. In the iterations we've seen since Man of Steel, Superman Returns, the animated series, and so forth.
This is all I'll say. I think that they left plenty of room in the sequel for both Corin Sweat and Brosnahan to crank up the heat on their hotness as well. They're both very attractive people. They didn't get into too crazy, but also at the same time, I will say, because Corin Sweat's obviously going to get compared to Cavill a lot with what's going on. I think that Corin Sweat and Brosnahan's chemistry knocked him and Amy Adams out of the water. Wasn't even close. Talking about a completely different couple vibe. on screen. But obviously, there's the difficulties that Superman at the end of the day turns himself in. I feel like something got edited out in this scene, to be honest, because there was kind of like he was thinking about it, and then he like next scene he's in like cuffs. I feel like something like happened, but whatever. But at this point, I guess the U.S. / the world is kind of deferring to Lex Luthor. So they outlaw him to Planet Protector, or what was the
Planet Watch.
Planet Watch. Yes, by the way, hilarious. Like these ones are never not like over the top. By the way, I know that some people, there's some political talk about this movie, Superman Alien. I don't give a fuck about any of it. Did you feel like at times that as Lex Luthor, he was kind of channeling a little Bezos a bit?
I did watch an interview where he
like
said
there was a vibe of like
he didn't channel Elon Musk. Like he
he made sure
that he didn't want to be Elon Musk, but I think it was undeniable. I mean,
so my point being that I could totally see Elon Musk having a pocket universe set up somewhere. So my question
Monkey's tweeting out Superman shit or whatever.
my question to you is this: which crew do you think is sketchier? The crew that was in the building with him managing the fights and like kind of being like enthusiastic about beating Superman, or the crew that was just for no reason, no questions asked, just protecting a pocket universe on that random beachfront?
I don't think the beachfront people even know that there's necessarily a pocket
that's what
universe.
I'm saying. I think the people in the building are way sketchier.
You have to protect it.
The people celebrating like good fight moves against Superman, like what are you doing?
That was crazy. No, yeah, the people on the beach, they were some of the people in just like Hawaiian shirts. They were just in like some swim trunks. Like they were just dipping in the ocean back and forth. Like they didn't know what was going on there.
With that said, they clearly have to be more clueless. So the pocket universe is right there. Crazy. Kind of a cool concept. This is definitely something I've only seen in like the animated series and everything. But again, you could basically rip a hole in the universe and you could put someone and you could stash Superman there. Everything stashes him with the metaverse. What did you think of this whole sequence? And by the way, as Rick Flag, so Rick Flag has to be a big character in the DC because he's been in multiple characters, obviously, or he's been in multiple movies. Flag, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he died off technically, or was killed off technically in the last one, and this is his son or something. There is a connection to the other Rick Flag, but.
Okay. Oh, so these two aren't the same character because I'm DC dumb in this.
Well, they are in for your purposes. Yes, they are the same character.
Okay.
But they made some weird distinction about him that I can't. I'm trying to look up at the moment.
Okay, because this guy's a pretty big name actor. I forget his name. He's also in the Marvel series.
Grillo.
Yeah, Grillo. Grillo's a pretty big name actor. And my complaint with him, which often happens in these franchise movies, is this could have been anybody. Like this could have been any unnamed actor doing any role. Like I'm sorry, Grillo, you just didn't have anything to do in this movie, or they didn't use like whatever your scene was in the final cut. Because this guy just had a couple pivot lines. He's like talking to the politic guy, and I'm just like, why did you blow a bag on Grillo when you could have literally just got like anybody free? You're already paying Bradley Cooper out of nowhere for a cameo as Jor-El. Like my theater was guffawed when that happened.
It's all his buddies, though. Like those are his. I feel like
this is how do you get him a paycheck without like like getting any of the waters for sure.
Maniac. Let's backtrack a little bit. So now that we're mentioning Jor-El, I guess we have to talk about the reimagining of Superman's origins and the rest of the message and what we must have thought when we saw it first. This is probably the biggest
spoiler. Everything we've touched on has just been kind of minor first act, but this is definitely the biggest spoiler, probably of the whole movie. But go on, Parthy.
Oh, yeah. So basically, you only hear half of the message, and it seems all well and good. Oh, we want you to go there and do good. And then Lex, of course, breaks into the Fortress of Solitude and has his engineer somehow be able to decode the message. And, they actually want him to conquer and, take multiple wives, which a lot of people found a little off-putting as what's James thinking
was
of
so
perverted
funny,
mind or something like that.
Like I felt like I was in a different like cultural time when they kept saying harem, but it stuck out and it stuck with me, so I guess it resonated.
Well, Jake, enlighten me, because I think in one-off interpretations, like one of those annual issues where it's like an alternate universe, sometimes they reimagine Jor-El or Krypton as a lot more hostile or a lot more condescending to Earth than it's normally been portrayed. So what did you think of this interpretation of Jor-El and his intentions, especially realizing and everybody's convincing Superman, oh yeah, it's legit?
I'm still kind of taking it in. It was a real shock to me, and I was waiting for like the whole movie. I was waiting for like okay, where's the like
Seriously.
Lex doctored this up? Where's the thing? So I honestly don't think I think they spent a bag on Bradley Cooper because we're probably not going to see the end of this. I think we're probably going to get some more Krypton lore. We have Supergirl up next in this setup, which is not a big spoiler. That's been announced for a long time. So there's going to be more Krypton lore. So I figure you pay that man out to do that. But yeah, no, this was like a complete departure from anything I've ever known about Superman's origin, and it was bold as hell to keep it that way. Honestly,
would you like it or not like it if they went Last Jedi retcon and said, "Oh yeah, Lex doctored the message somehow" in the next movie?
I'd hate it at this point.
I'd rather just commit to it and figure out like it. I'd rather it be something where if you go back to Krypton and it was like Krypton, like it's Zod or a Brainiac or some other villain did something to that message before it got sent, and like the Clark getting sent out of there was not what he thought of, rather than
from the deep dives of Reddit, the Brainiac retcon seems to be the only way out of this. If you really want to do it.
It would, but they'd have to get real weird. But James Gunn's not afraid to try to get real weird. Like I don't think he's afraid to go near this stuff. But so no, long story short, absolutely, this is like a large departure from the character in general, and it was key to this movie. Like it needed to happen. I was a little perturbed by it in the moment, but I think it was a good move in the end.
Folks, speaking of needing to happen, I need you to get to the region's premier entertainment destination, Batavia Downs. All kinds of amazing games on the gaming floor, 34 Rush to hang out and watch all the action all summer long. And of course, every Friday, rocking the Downs. We have numerous acts coming from all over the globe to light it up at the region's premier entertainment destination. So make sure they're making it your destination, Batavia Downs.
Batavia Downs! More, lots more!
All right, got to pay the bills. With that said, going on here, so everyone is mad at Superman. One guy, I know it was almost Homelander-esque, by the way. You got to bring up Homelander now when you're talking Superman. The guy who just throws like the can at Superman at the back of his head. How much of a dummy do you have to be to even think about doing that? Like just as like a knee-jerk reaction, this dude can laser a hole through your face. Like, and you're just throwing a
pretty
can.
bold, man.
But he goes to the Pocket Universe. A lot of political enemies. Got to be like just very funny. The idea that you could shove a bunch of people in the Pocket Universe was hilarious. And we get the other trope of every first Superman movie, which is at some point we're getting an interaction with kryptonite. So in this form, in this movie, it was you guys got to get me up to speed.
I got you.
It was Mr. Metamorphosis in there.
Metamorpho.
Okay.
There it is.
For a second, I thought this was Martian Manhunter. I'm like, wait, is this Martian Manhunter? And he's like able to turn arms because they kind of look similar. But no, this is Metamorpho. So talk to me about this guy, Lord Jake. He gets thrown into the mix here in a prison box with Superman.
Metamorpho, he's basically, he can transform into any element ever. And can but it takes obviously, like we saw how he used it, like his body it takes time for him to regenerate and everything, but it's a really useful tool to be on the team. But as you kind of see with the character, he's not the most confident guy in the world, kind of insecure, kind of just doing his own thing, aloof in the world. And so that's kind of where he is most of the time. He is part of the Justice League International, I believe, which is potentially the path for the Justice Gang and Guy Gardner and all that stuff. So it was not a surprise to see him there, not a surprise to see him get involved. And he is a fun, very fun fan favorite DC character who I know a lot of people were really happy to see get a nice moment in this. My brother brought up something about this, and I also agree with this. His voice, I know it's just probably the guy's voice, but it just really didn't match with the character, and like what he was doing weird. In the moment just threw me off. Other than that, he was really fun though. It was a good touch. And yeah, the kryptonite, how did you like the way I'm always worried about how they make kryptonite look like affecting Superman. And I thought it was a decent job of making him look like not weird. It didn't look like off-putting, but it was gross. Like it looked like he wasn't in good shape.
Yeah, it took a while for Superman to recover from that, and even when he's at enough strength to break out of the prison and everything, he's still a little bit poisoned, where he has to, get someplace safe and taking some rays essentially. So I liked that he didn't immediately recover as you might see from other iterations of Superman. Once you put it in a lead lockbox or throw it across the field or something.
And we get basically one of the more brutal deaths we've ever seen in like a comic book movie. As Malik Ali gets brought into the pocket dimension for interrogation for Superman. And this is where you see both sides. You see that, Lex is clearly just a demented, like crazy dude. I mean, Paige, obviously there's been death scenes, everything all over movies. Did this stick out to you kind of from the tone of Superman, the rest of the movie to this scene coming into play late in the second act?
Shooting someone in the face at point blank range, Russian roulette style. Yeah, that was a bit jarring from the things that I've seen from past superhero movies. It was very disturbing, but I think with the character of Lex Luthor, it made perfect sense. Like, he does not care about anything other than destroying Superman, and that means destroying people that Superman cares about. And I think having this being a random civilian off the road that we get a blink of in the beginning was a really great choice, because when he came back, you remembered him, he helped Superman, and he's begging for his life. And I honestly did not think he was going to die, and then he did, and I was distraught, because it was quite the aggressive, like quite literally shooting someone in the face compared to laser beams through a building. It's very different, because that's
it's very there's a realism to it for sure. And unfortunately, whenever these situations come up with a movie, my first question, like when someone's about to potentially die, I'm like, how expendable are they? And unfortunately, this guy was like the definition of expendable at this point in the movie. But obviously and unfortunately, this kind of raises like a craziness. So Metamorpho then sees this and is like, oh no, Lex Luthor's really a bad guy. I gotta like flip. Like, all right, Metamorpho, like having like an entire community trapped in a pocket universe like wasn't like enough for you to realize that. But
I'm pretty sure he already knew Lex Luthor was a bad guy. He just had his kid hostage, and that's when he realizes, oh, I'm not gonna get out of this alive anyway.
Yeah, that could have been a little bit better. I get it. He becomes the son, though. What was our thought on that?
I was impressed.
Pretty dope.
He wasn't like, again, he wasn't really sure. He was like, I don't know if I can really do this. And then all of a sudden, bam, like it was there. And the people were getting pissed. Like, you could tell the pocket universe was scared of Lex, because they were like, what's he doing in there? Clearly, yep. Lex, where was the security? What were they doing?
And this is the classic point in it doesn't matter what comic book movie is it, but the villain has been thwarted in a way where nothing they do makes any sense anymore, because they're literally just trying to get after or in this case, get after Superman. So he cranks up the power on the pocket dimension. And now this kind of creates a two-pronged battle, because we haven't even mentioned them yet on this show, because they are just unnamed countries, like just made so that we don't piss off any, parties internationally when this movie airs, obviously. But hold on, where was it here? I had it. Oh no,
Arabia, wasn't it?
But we have Baravia invading Jarhanpur. Yes. So you got the family, the kids flying the Superman flag. Pretty good imagery there and everything. But like, again, there's a lot of these tones are the same. Like when it was Snyder, it was people saying like, save us, Superman, with their signs and stuff like that. Now they're flying the flags. Again, it's about images of hope. It's about, so you got the two front battle. You got that going on, which is kind of dealt with by the Justice Gang, and they solve that. And then Superman is fighting and kind of trying to get to Lex and stop everything that's happening in Metropolis as the city's tearing apart. That's when Ultraman comes back into play. So is Ultraman like Micah, where does he rank in the pantheon? Is he just a Luthor goon in the whole scheme?
Yeah, so, Luthor's, he's always just trying to think of something, whether he can be Superman, somebody else can be Superman, he could mind control Superman, whatever he tries to do. And yeah, Ultraman is another one of those creations. He's trying to find his own controllable Superman clone.
Now, do you think Ultraman, like, does he have past things where, like, he could have carried a whole movie himself instead of doing, like, three prongs?
Well, traditionally, Ultraman's been an alternate universe evil Superman, not so much an evil clone, but alternate universe. Well,
because I asked, because, like, growing up, then this is just my perfect example. I saw Batman and Robin, where Bane was just a crony of Poison Ivy. And then 15 years later, Tom Hardy's on my screen showing that Bane's like probably one of the most dynamic like Batman villains out there. Like, you know what I mean? So sometimes framing in these movies means a lot for sure. Justice Gang takes out the president of Bravia. What'd you think of the president of Bravia for being like nothing? He was pretty good at being an asshole.
Yeah, he was detestable. That man was not. He did not care
Big
about
time
anybody.
detestable.
I don't know what he just wanted. They just wanted their empire. I think they said they were him and Lex were splitting half of Jaranpur.
Yes,
between their deal there. So they were going to set up some resorts. They had plans. They were going to just rule as kings together.
Did anybody have a problem with Hawkgirl dropping him from the sky, basically?
No,
I thought it was
that's a comic book death.
And I thought it was a great contrast. We're getting Superman like not wanting to kill anybody, not wanting to kill anybody. She's like, nah, fam, like we're not all the same
often
here.
That's what makes these characters like so good, like about the not killing and stuff. Because then all of a sudden you'll just see someone kill somebody, like, wow, that's.
But
like
I have
really
to imagine that Superman afterwards
Oh.
must have said something to Hawkgirl like, "Did you really have to do that? We could have put him on Shadows." I don't know.
Yeah, that would have been his big aw shucks mentality. By the way, let's kick it back. I'm kind of speeding through. We're gonna go another 5 or 10 minutes here on the review. Appreciate you tagging along with us. But the Kansas origins, they did a very good job this movie of being like Superman became this personality and how he approaches everything because he was raised from like 2 aw shucks like farmers in the Midwest. Like that's how he got his values. That's how he got his approach to everything. And I thought that kind of made the scenes when he eventually goes to recuperate with them, which is also another classic Superman trope, just kind of hit all the much more. Like his scene with his dad, like I was about to legit tear up in the theaters.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really great, like even just the introduction to them when it's Clark and Clark writes his big first story, front page story about Superman, and they're calling him on the phone, congratulating him. And they got the phone down and they're yelling into it on speakers. Like, why do you have that phone so far away from you? What are you guys doing? Like, it was so perfect of just like a modern, whatever boomer aged grandparent, parent aged adults that are just like they're just so caring, so sweet. Like, what they call podcast? I think they called it mush. Is that what she was calling him?
Yeah.
Mush. Like that was such a nice like addition. I've never heard that before or anything, but that was such a cute addition, like just to really sell what they were doing. It's a sense of responsibility they felt when they found him, and it carried them through. And it's a lot of the reason that people love the Superman character is the ideals those two show. I thought they did a great job with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ma and Pa Kent in previous iterations, Jake, have been a little bit more idealistic, a lot more, grounded. These I bought these people as, they're from the Midwest and they're a little bit off, but they're still well intentioned.
Exactly. Like they don't understand. Even though they know that he's an alien and all this stuff, they still don't get the scope of what's happening here. They're just like, that's Clark. Like we're just gonna take care of him. He's our guy.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole other show on Kevin Costner as Clark Kent's dad and Man of Steel, and the crucial decision he makes at that point. So we get to the Ultraman fight. We're back in Metropolis. We're going into it, but now we're back in Metropolis. It's basically Lex and his crew against Superman, and we get to a great point. I got to bring this up from one of our comments. It looks like Nico Bellic. There is a big plot hole in Superman. Why couldn't Superman, with his X-ray vision, see Ultraman's face? He should have known long before Ultraman arrests him that Ultraman is his code. I mean, fair point. All right, but this is why we got Parthy. Thank you.
Obviously, Lex Luthor knows so much about Superman. If he knows so much about Superman that he can program a fight and just call it on the fly, he knows Superman can't see through lead. And obviously, they didn't say it in the movie, but let's just assume he has a lead-lined face shield or whatever the hell.
There it is. No plot holes in the
Easy.
James Gunn universe. So they're fighting, and then this ends up being a clone of Superman, and like even when Lex Luthor is talking to him during this part, like he just sounds like an ex-girl, like or just a scorned lover, like what I mean, like and that's the funniest part of it. Like that's why Nicholas Holt's performance was just so ranged and it was so good. It wasn't just like this, like no offense, but what's his face, Eisenberg, like what the or whatever his name was, he was just being himself as Lex Luthor. He was literally just like Lex Luthor is me, like, and I'm crazy, like like.
Well, how many of these villains in these movies, and especially a hero like Superman, do we get a situation where the hero or the villain is actively like not just trying, like he doesn't have some other ulterior motive, like he's not trying to take over the world.
That's
he's not trying to.
That's why it's so perfect.
Yeah, like this dude, he is the richest man in the world. He could do all this stuff without even worrying about Superman. And he just said, "Nah." Like, just the funniest part of this movie and thinking about this movie back is that I have to believe now that Lex Luthor sat at a desk like I'm at and was just like, how many moves can I think of to beat up Superman? Like, I got first 1A, punch him right in the face. And then what? Then we go with 1A.
1A.
The best. Like, it was, that is, every time I see that clip now, I get hyped,
he wakes
man.
up
It's
in the
like
middle of the
crazy.
night and he's like, oh my God, like 512B. Like, you know, like that's
He's one of those guys who carries around like he's got a notebook in his back pocket.
Yep.
And it's all just like, you know,
That's
it's
his
like
fantasy football.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
He's
for
probably
sure.
watching some
So-
wrestling. He probably got some ideas, you know, from the world. Who knows?
So we will leave you to see it. There is a little, a little added factor to the fight. I'll just say a black hole gets thrown in. We won't go full spoilers, but I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the guy named Superman defeats the guy named Ultraman in the Superman movie.
One thing that somebody touched on in the review is this is a different interpretation of the DC universe, whereas before all these disasters would just have this weight on the universes going forward, like Infinity War, the blip, and the city getting destroyed in Man of Steel. Here, it just seems like another day in the Metropolis City. Oh, we got to evacuate because another kaiju fight or a meta-human fight's about to happen. Oh, the city got split in half. Oh, it's back together. And I guess we should go back to work now.
James Gunn really wanted you to know that if there was something life-threatening happening, people would still be taking videos with their phones for sure.
Because they would. They absolutely
Because they would for sure. Okay, so we get a wrap up. Now, this is spoiler. Do not listen if you haven't seen this movie yet. Luthor and everyone gets arrested. The pocket dimension gets freed. Superman recovering, and Justice Gang is like, stock is up, basically, is the takeaways from this.
Major takeaways. Yeah, I would say that's it. And I think Superman's probably thinking maybe I need to, you know, maybe I need to have some friends here. Maybe they helped me out a little bit. That's probably a good thing going on there.
My dad, when Superman was in the apartment and said he was just letting the Justice Gang fight that cosmic thing like by themselves, but they didn't know. Like we were guffawing. That was so funny.
Amazing.
But yeah.
Stuff.
And then, of course, at the end, I guess another big takeaway and clearly a promo. I mean, a WWE-esque promo, if there ever was one. We get Kara Zor-El as Supergirl. And she immediately is like, listen, this other guy might be about like values, but I'm about getting hammered on planets with red suns.
She is.
Obviously, she's a teenager, so it's an honest interpretation of her.
Yep.
But I wonder if when they do the Supergirl movie, are they going to show her origin or are they going to show her going forward? Because if they want it to be a Supergirl movie, then they have to take Superman out of the equation somehow.
Yes,
I could see it being like a flashback sequence or something. Flashbacks.
The quotes coming out about it today were that all they said was that she grew up with a more difficult upbringing. So whatever that means. So I would imagine that they do touch on the upbringing. Supergirl debuted, guys, in Batman and Superman, and we got to talk about the Batman of this all because the only other movie that I'm sorry,
we got owned on track 7, by the way.
This guy, they've done fan service. This whole movie was fan service to the characters, to be honest to the characters, to be faithful to these characters and everything else. They have the perfect opportunity to just find a way to just make Robert Pattinson the Batman and make everybody happy in this and just bring it together. I don't care what you got to do to make it work. I think that if you do, I feel like it's such an L of a momentum if you announce somebody else after this movie's success. And if you announce that you're going to try to make it work and put these two worlds together that weren't supposed to actually be together and pivot a little bit and try to make it happen. And it could also be what they're kind of teasing at with Matt Reeves. They've been, the script's in now late. He said he already read it. There's no Brave and the Bold yet, all this other stuff. I'm just, my feelers are up. I don't think James Gunn's going to I don't think we're getting Marvel-like reveals about the next 10-year plan. Like, I don't think we're getting phase plans. They're not going to tell us what they're doing. Like, everybody's trying to infer and listen to everything James Gunn's telling us about the plans for the future. We're not going to know. That's my plan.
I think you gotta lay the foundation before you could go phase planning for sure. And I think this movie was big laying the foundation. Now, how are we going to tonally compare a Matt Reeves Batman with a James Gunn Superman universe we just saw? I have no idea. Maybe we're going to have to do a timeless Tony Storm. Like when when Robert Pattinson's on the screen, it'll be all white and black or black and white, and then when Superman's on, it'll be a rainbow of color. But the bottom line is that for today and for this week, they survived because DC, Warner Brothers, everybody in that, they needed this to be a success because this was the reboot, the restart of this franchise, of this, everything they got going on. To date, as of now, it's made just about its budget. Now everybody says that to make your real budget back, you have to make double your budget. So we'll see where this closes in on that eventually. But they survived and it was a success from that. What did you guys think? Ultimately, was this a good movie? And out of the movies in July, which there's already F4 or I keep doing that. F1, Jurassic World Rebirth. There's this, and now we're going to get Paige Road again next week with Fantastic Four First Steps. Where does this rank in your is it a need to see movie? And if you only saw one out of those four, would it be the one you're targeting potentially? Why don't we start with Partham, and then we'll go Paige, Mike, and myself to close it out.
I think this has a lot more appeal than the aforementioned movies. Now, admittedly, I haven't seen F1. I am going to see Fantastic Four, but with the exception of the shock of the origins of Superman from Krypton, I'd say this was a very uplifting and nail-biting movie that gives you the Superman that everybody knows him as, and not another interpretation. It's a crowd-pleasing movie, I would say. It's a crowd-popping movie, and definitely the top of my list to go see for the ones I've seen so far.
I like that. Paige, what are we thinking?
I agree. Out of all the movies I've seen this past summer, if I was going to tell someone to go to the theater, I would tell you to go to Superman. It's an uplifting movie. It's hopeful, but also it's a great action comic book movie. It makes me excited for the future of the DCEU. I know, like Jake said, he doesn't think we're going to get a rollout like Marvel, and I hope we don't. I think surprise is something that we should get back to. We don't need a list of the next 10 years for people to pontificate on social media about plot lines and characters and casting themselves. I think we should have a little bit of surprise of what's to come. I really enjoyed this movie. It made me want to go watch other Superman iterations, and I think the movie is intentionally political. I think ignoring that is a little bit ignorant, and I think they did a really good job of lacing that in. And I just really enjoyed the movie, and I will be continuing to talk about it until I'm blue in the face. So those are my thoughts.
There we go.
And going to see it again,
and going to see it again, and maybe again.
And I will also be going to see this movie again. I would say this is they really did me dirty though, because if you would have asked me even like 5 years ago, what are the two sleeping giants of these things? It would have been Superman. It would have been Fantastic Four. And they drop them in the same damn month. That being said, if you're someone who has lived through the MCU through the last 17 years, go see Superman instead, because this is the prospect of something brand new. And if you want to compare it to the feeling of watching Iron Man, I would say I had more fun watching this movie than Iron Man. Honestly, they got Superman right. If you are a fan of Superman, or you liked any iteration of Superman, whether it be Man of Steel or Justice League cartoons or anything else, they really encapsulated what this character is supposed to be, in my opinion. And I think that was the really important part of this movie and what James Gunn wanted to do. And he did it. So that's a win. And it's going to be fun in the future to see what they kind of do and explore further.
They say you get two things in a Superman movie. You get a wholesome performance from Ma and Pa Kent, and you get Superman stopping stuff from falling on people. And we got a lot of that in this movie. So if that's what you look for in a Superman movie, you should definitely go check out Superman in theaters. With that said, next week, it's time to get Fantastic Four. Have you heard anything? Have you heard any whispers, any thoughts, anything based on what you've heard?
Well, they're started showing a lot more in these trailers.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The trailer that I saw before Superman was a new trailer, and was the most I had seen of this movie, and especially the most about Galactus. So that was really an interesting strategy, I guess, pushing it out. But my theory, did I tell you guys my theory about this movie already?
You can unleash
What's
it.
up?
That the trailer is like the first 30 minutes.
I think so too. I think we're seeing the new like, even for Jurassic, so much of that trailer was the early part of the movie for sure.
I think I've felt like, oh my God, they're giving away so much of this movie. Like they've given away Franklin Richards, they've given away Galactus, they've given away Silver Surfer, they've shown all of them. It's like, well, maybe this is just like the first 15 minutes of this movie, and we're not even going to know what's going on after.
You think there's going to be another threat besides Galactus?
No. Do you really want to hear my full theory, or do you want I can save it? Like,
I'm down to hear your full theory.
Same.
My theory is that they lose the Galactus and their world is gone and they have to go to another world. And that's the rest of the movie. Where do they end up?
That's a question I've been racking with, is how they're going to get him out of this 1960s, esque world that they're in and get him into the MCU, because it's obviously a different world.
Remember the post-credit scene to Thunderbolts, if you guys can remember, reach back to that.
I have not seen Thunderbolts yet. So keep that,
Interesting. That would be a good one.
I'm really excited for Fantastic Four. It's one of my favorite action movies. I remember, isn't there another one with Miles Teller? Like I vividly remember.
Oh, there's one where somehow
avoid that one.
Somehow they fumbled having Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan.
Right,
in
that one's so bad.
Somehow they fumbled that.
Crazy.
There's an amazing one with Chris Evans, Jessica Alba, and co. That they
That's the one that I've seen.
See, that's some
good.
Those two movies were some good corny fun.
Those were good corny fun movies. Agreed.
The reboot, the attempted reboot, there was just no joy in that.
I don't even know what they. It was one
bad.
of the worst.
If you look at it, it's one of the biggest production hell movies of all time. Like between how it happened and everything. Like Miles Teller literally hated making movies after he did it. So, but the same thing happened with Ben Affleck in Justice League. So sometimes it happens.
The one thing I want to say about Fantastic Four, because they do have quite the budget for Pedro Pascal and all these other actors, is what is going on with the wig on his head. I can't even remember.
See, I don't notice these things. I gotta look.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you get now. I gotta look.
Wig? What is his name? That Bonnie Storm.
Joseph Quinn.
Yes, Joseph Quinn. I saw the new trailer that just came out, and I was like, at first, the wig didn't really bother me, but then when we start getting into hair and makeup, when you have a budget of that caliber, it's like, you could have had it be a natural blonde color or a haircut that looks
I definitely thought this was not looking normal, and why did they do this?
It looks whack. I don't know. I don't know if it was while he was filming another project that they had to wig it up, but it looks bad.
There's literally a meme here that just says Pedro Pascal being annoyed by Joseph Quinn in a shitty wig for 2
Literally, it's such a shitty wig, and Pedro Pascal's hair and just his gray hair and everything looks so good. And then
it really does look perfect. Holy shit! Oh wow, that's terrible.
Wig looks bad too.
Maybe bro just likes wigs.
Hey, that's what. Listen, that is why we bring in Dry Gin Martini's finest, Paige, into the mix. So huge shout out to our panel. This was an awesome movie. I think we would all say go to the theaters and see Superman. Yes. But a huge shout out to our super panel, Paige, Michael Parthy, Jake, myself. Make sure you get to the theaters. Make sure you support them. It's been an awesome month for movies, and it looks like fantastic. May keep that going. With that said, it's not the show about last week's review or next week's trailers. It's about this week's movie. Have a good night now.
Yeah, that movie.
It's clobbering time.